I was lucky. I had a great coach, and coach is a loaded word. It was a kind of a great partnership that I had, and during that time where sort of the walls were starting to kind of creep in and the ceilings started to feel a bit lower, and you kind of had to shovel. It was kind of it was kind of nice having someone helping you do a little bit of shoveling. But what was the most powerful part about it? It was very, very forward-looking. There was really no point, sort of turning the coals over the past too much, except to be sure of what are the lessons to be learnt. And the greatest thing was, that process. I was really, really not forced, but I was really helped to be held accountable for what had kind of happened. Because in that environment, when things are sort of a bit tough, you can easily sort of slip into a victim mentality. You can blame everyone and anything, and I had heaps of things to blame. But I never decided to do that, and I sort of said, well, I one way or another, I kind of got myself here. I've got to figure out how, A, I get myself out of here, and B, how do we do this better next time? Yeah, there was one moment in the middle of Compression Alley, where Foster's was going kind of having fun and games there. Home was fun and games, and of course we had the wonders of a court case in the background. And I made the remark to one of my coaches that I was genuinely concerned that after all this was over, that I'd sort of become bitter and victimised about kind of what had happened to me. And he sort of made the remark, which I'll never forget. He said, well, firstly, he said, well, that's a silly thing to say. I said, well, give me a break. This has been really difficult. I don't have to tell you how hard this has all been. He said, well, what have you got out of it? I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you must have got something out of this. You get something out of everything. What did you get out of this? I said, well, I suppose I'm nowhere near as naive as I thought I was. I've learnt a lot about, due process, learnt a lot about, private equity and built some relationships and all sorts of things. He made the simple remark, he said, well, you should probably write them a letter and thank them. And that changed my perspective on the whole thing, as opposed to seeing that whole period as being a difficulty, it was a gift. And I will never stop thanking them for it, because it makes you stronger if it doesn't kill you, and it sure as hell didn't kill me. I was really fortunate to have two individuals working with me, really from the time I left Foster's, frankly, right up till now, which has always been a mixture of joy and fear. Joy because they're able to give you an insight that you can't see, and coming to terms with the fact that you can't see stuff about yourself is difficult, but that's been incredibly helpful. But fear because they have a really great way of telling you stuff that you probably don't want to hear. And as I find myself getting to more senior roles, the amount of people that are prepared to front up and tell you what they really think seem to become fewer in population. And it's pretty handy to have a couple of people in your corner that tell you how it is. And both of them have been incredibly helpful, and some of the most pointed remarks any person has made to me that have affected me more deeply have come from both of them. As we went through the process of sort of further understanding our leadership, one of the most powerful elements that I see is this notion of peer interaction, peer coaching, peer feedback. And when it's done right, and it's not a blame game and throwing mud at each other, it can be a real force multiplier. Two reasons. One is there's probably no better person to give you feedback around your impact than the person you're working with day in, day out. And the delivery of that impact, if it's done in the right way, can really generate some powerful relationships that transcend kind of ropes courses and all that type of stuff. This is sort of a new thing. And I think we've benefited from being able to learn the art of constructive feedback, either formally or informally, that has been one of the real step changes for us in the organisation.